Have you ever had one of those days where you find your keys in the fridge? Or you're in the middle of a sentence and suddenly, poof, the word you were about to say just disappears? We laugh and call them senior moments, but deep down, they can feel unsettling. Like little reminders that time is marching on, and our minds don't always keep up the way they used to. But here's the honest truth, just because we're aging doesn't mean our minds have to slow down. In fact, your brain can stay sharp, focused, and even grow stronger in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. The secret? Keep it active, not just with puzzles or memory games, but with hobbies that bring you joy and purpose. Hobbies are more than just pastimes. The right ones can actually boost brain power, increase clarity, and lift your mood, all at the same time. They give your mind a reason to stay engaged, to keep learning, and to stay curious. And the best part is, they don't feel like work. They feel like living. So today, we're talking about 6 powerful hobbies that, when practiced consistently, can do wonders for your brain after 70. And the first one, well, you may already be doing it without even realizing how powerful it is: gardening. There's something almost magical about digging your hands into the soil, planting a seed, and watching it grow. But behind the scenes, your brain is working hard. You're planning, remembering watering schedules, making decisions about sunlight and shade. You're observing changes, adjusting based on what you see. That's problem solving, memory, and focus all wrapped up in one peaceful activity. I remember a man named George who started gardening after retiring at 72. He said he'd never even kept a houseplant alive before, but once he started with tomatoes and herbs, he was hooked. He told me, "It gave me something to look forward to every morning. And I don't forget things as much anymore." His doctor even noticed improvements in his overall mood and alertness. Not because George was doing anything complicated, but because he was showing up for something every day. Nurturing something. That gentle engagement is incredibly good for your mind. And it's not just the brain benefits. Gardening can lower stress, get you moving, and give you a sense of accomplishment, especially when you get to enjoy a salad made from your very own harvest. Now, if you're not the green thumb type, don't worry. Another brain-boosting hobby that might surprise you is playing a musical instrument or learning one for the first time. You might be thinking, that ship sailed decades ago. But trust me, your brain doesn't care how old you are when you start. In fact, picking up a new instrument after 70 can be one of the best gifts you give your mind. When you play music, your brain has to process rhythm, melody, movement, memory, and coordination all at once. That's a full mental workout, and it's fun. I met a woman named Teresa at a senior center music circle. She started learning the ukulele at 75. She had never played an instrument in her life. But she said learning the chords, following the beat, and singing along made her feel like she was lighting up from the inside out. She practiced 10 minutes a day, nothing fancy. But over time, her focus improved. She said her mind felt cleaner, less foggy, and more alive. And it's not about becoming a master musician. You don't need to perform or impress anyone. You're doing it for you. To stay mentally nimble. To engage your senses. To give your brain something new and joyful to play with. What matters is the act of learning, because learning something new, even in small doses, helps your brain build new connections. And these connections are exactly what keep your mind flexible and sharp, especially as we age. That leads perfectly into another hobby that's fantastic for the brain, and that's learning a new language. Now, I know this one can feel intimidating. But you don't have to become fluent or give a speech. Even learning just a few new words each week can make a huge difference. Language learning forces the brain to concentrate, recall, listen actively, and think creatively, all at the same time. And the great part is, it can be fun and lighthearted. There are apps, videos, flashcards, or even labeling objects around the house in your new language. I knew a couple, John and Elaine, who picked up basic Italian together just for fun. Every day they'd greet each other with buongiorno and try to remember words for food or furniture. It became a game, and their brains? Sharper than ever. They said they found themselves remembering grocery lists better, focusing longer, and laughing more. What makes this kind of hobby so powerful is that it's active learning. You're not just repeating facts, you're connecting, engaging, and most importantly, having fun. Now that we've looked at a few hobbies that bring life and energy to the mind, let's keep going. Because when you find something that brings you joy and challenges your brain at the same time, that's where real transformation begins. If you're still watching and feel that these insights are meaningful, please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. There's something special that happens when your hands are busy creating and your mind is right there with them, focused, curious, and completely in the moment. And that's exactly why arts and crafts can be one of the most powerful ways to sharpen your mind after 70. Now, I'm not talking about being the next Picasso. This isn't about perfection or producing gallery-worthy pieces. It's about the act of creating. Whether it's painting, knitting, woodworking, or even scrapbooking, these types of hobbies activate parts of the brain related to planning, spatial reasoning, memory, and coordination. I knew a gentleman named Harold who picked up woodcarving at 76. He started with simple shapes, just something to keep his hands busy. But over time, it became more than just a hobby. He started planning small projects, sketching designs, keeping track of tools and measurements, and something beautiful happened. His wife told me he became more attentive, more present in conversation. He even started remembering little things again, like people's birthdays or where he'd put his reading glasses. That's the thing about these creative hobbies, they don't just pass the time. They wake your brain up. You have to think about color, shape, size, symmetry. You're making decisions constantly, even if it feels like play. And while your hands are weaving, stitching, or shaping something, your brain is quietly flexing its muscles. And there's a bonus. Creating something from scratch, even something small, gives you a sense of purpose. A sense of progress. That feeling of, I made this, can be incredibly uplifting, especially during seasons of life when things feel slower or more repetitive. Now let's move from the creative table to the kitchen, because cooking and baking can be powerful brain boosters, too. Not just because you're feeding yourself, although that's a win on its own, but because the process of planning, measuring, timing, and following steps engages multiple brain regions at once. Think about it. When you're cooking, you're doing math, adjusting ingredients, doubling or having a recipe. You're using memory, recalling family favorites, cooking times, what spices go with what. You're using your senses, smell, taste, touch. All of that combined creates a kind of mental symphony. And unlike tasks that only require watching or listening, cooking requires your active participation, and that's what your brain loves most. There's a woman I know named Denise, 79, who started baking bread during the pandemic. She said it began as something to pass the time, but soon turned into a weekly ritual. She tried new recipes, played with flavors, even gave loaves to neighbors. What she didn't expect was how much sharper she felt. She began remembering her appointments without writing them down, and said her mind felt less cluttered. She wasn't solving equations, she was baking cinnamon rolls. And that was enough to bring her focus back to life. Sometimes we forget that hobbies don't have to be big or fancy. They just have to invite your brain in. That's where the magic happens. And speaking of inviting your brain to show up, let's talk about something that helps memory, focus, and even creativity. It's something so simple, yet so powerful, and that's reading. Whether it's a mystery novel, a biography, or a book of poetry, reading exercises the brain in a way that few other activities can. You're using language processing, imagination, concentration, all while creating mental images, following storylines, and remembering details. But more than that, reading encourages empathy and reflection. It slows you down, asks you to think, to feel, to connect with ideas and people you might never meet in real life. That kind of mental engagement strengthens neural pathways and keeps your cognitive wheels turning. I once met a retired teacher named Alma who read for 30 minutes every evening before bed. She said it was like cleansing her mental palate. It helped her unwind, but also made her feel mentally alert. She even joined a small book club with a few neighbors where they'd discuss what they'd read over tea once a month. Those conversations, those questions, they weren't just social. They were brain fuel. And if reading a full book feels overwhelming, that's okay. Try short stories, magazines, or even articles on topics you enjoy. What matters is that you're engaging your mind, not just scrolling through noise, but feeding your brain with something it can chew on. What I love about all these hobbies, gardening, music, crafting, cooking, reading, is that they aren't chores. They're not tasks to complete or items to cross off a to-do list. They're invitations. Invitations to stay curious. To keep learning. To enjoy the process, not just the outcome. And when you do that, when you build even a little bit of joy, focus, and creativity into your day, your brain responds. Not overnight. Not with fireworks. But steadily. Like sunlight on a houseplant, it wakes up and begins to stretch again. It's not about avoiding aging. It's about aging actively. Being fully present in your own story. Giving your mind a reason to stay sharp and your spirit something to look forward to. And as we continue, there's one more hobby, one that many people overlook, but might just be the most powerful of all for mental health and brain strength after 70. Of all the hobbies that keep the brain sharp, there's one that often gets overlooked. It doesn't involve tools or instruments or even sitting at a table. But it's something you can do almost anywhere, and it strengthens not just your mind, but your heart and soul too. That hobby is volunteering. Now, some might not even call it a hobby. But if you give your time, your energy, or your presence regularly to help others, whether it's at a library, a school, a food pantry, or simply checking in on neighbors, you are volunteering. And what you're doing for your brain in those moments. It's extraordinary. You see, volunteering combines social interaction, problem solving, physical movement, and emotional engagement, all in one. It gives your brain variety. And variety is exactly what keeps your cognitive skills strong. When you volunteer, you're often making quick decisions, adjusting plans, recalling names, navigating conversations. You're thinking on your feet, but with heart. I met a man named Leo who started delivering meals to homebound seniors after he turned 80. He told me that remembering addresses and routes was like doing puzzles with wheels. But what surprised him most was how clear-headed he started to feel. His days had meaning again. His memory sharpened. His attention span improved. Not because he was training his brain in a lab, but because he was connecting, contributing, feeling useful. That sense of purpose is powerful. It wakes us up inside. And when you feel needed, when you know someone's day is better because of something you did, even something small, your whole system lights up, brain included. So whether you're organizing a community garden, helping sort books at the library, or simply sitting with someone who needs company, know this, you're not just giving your time. You're also building a stronger, more resilient mind for yourself. And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. The hobbies we've been talking about, gardening, music, crafts, cooking, reading, volunteering, they're not just about passing the time. They're about feeding your brain with exactly what it craves: movement, challenge, joy, curiosity, connection, and purpose. They don't require you to be fast, or perfect, or young. They just require that you show up. That you try. That you make space for something that matters to you. Because here's the thing, your brain is not done yet. Not even close. It's still capable of forming new pathways, making new memories, learning new things. And you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to take one step. Try one hobby. Commit to one small moment a day when you invite your brain to wake up and join you. Even 10 minutes a day can make a difference. 10 minutes playing music. 10 minutes reading. 10 minutes kneading dough or digging in the garden. That's not wasted time. That's brain-building time. That's memory-boosting time. That's life-giving time. And the beauty of all this? You get to choose what brings you joy. You get to create a life that's mentally rich, emotionally full, and uniquely yours, no matter what your birth certificate says. If something in today's video sparked an idea or stirred a memory, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe you already have a hobby that's been helping your mind stay sharp. Or maybe you're feeling inspired to try something new. Either way, share it in the comments. You never know who you might encourage with your story. And if this message felt helpful, please take a second to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're building a community here, one filled with wisdom, encouragement, and the belief that aging is not about decline, it's about redefining. About becoming more fully ourselves, one meaningful day at a time. Here's to waking up your brain. Here's to hobbies that heal, stretch, and strengthen. Here's to living your best life, not just in your 30s or 40s, but right now. And here's to you, curious, capable, creative, exactly as you are. You've got this. And your brain? It's just waiting for you to play.